I know off camera you were talking about how you didn't want to blame, and I really like that because I know it's easy to get in that mode when something's not right and you want to change it. Can you just touch on briefly about your screening? I know you had a screening, you had a film that you did.
Right.
And I know you want to stay positive, but I just thought it was important, if you don't mind talking about that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for leading me here, because I think this is an important story. In this last workshop I did with 16 incarcerated youth at Camp Aflo on the first day, the Latino youth expressed a lot of fear and concern about immigration policy and about families being torn apart at the border and about families being abducted by ICE and deported. And it was very emotional for the Latino youth. And then the Black youth were talking about how upset they were that Black people were being arrested from Starbucks for having a business meeting, or having someone call the cops on them because they were having a barbecue at a park, like what happened on Lake Merritt in Oakland. Someone called the cops on a Black couple having a barbecue, and they seemed to have a profound sense of hopelessness about their future. So in this film, they decided to address the ambivalent space between visibility and invisibility, and about vanishing, people disappearing. So I thought that was really deep, and this film we made was political. And there's a character they came up with called Zoo, and he represents the future. And in the film, Zoo takes all the people forgotten by history and society and takes them to a better place for healing, where there's no prejudice, there's no discrimination, there's equality, there's peace and love and happiness. So they came up with this fantasy place like Nirvana. So in the film, this character named Zoo says, "Let us go to the promised land," and all the Black and Latino youth follow them. So what happened was, they're having some issue right now with violence in the youth correctional facilities, and some of the violence is between the youth and staff. And some people perceive the film as a message of overthrow. And they felt that the message of the film might cause more unrest. But one person from LA County felt that the shaman character who comes from the future was leading the youth to a terrorist camp to take over. That wasn't their intention at all, but what's happening right now is there's a big battle between folks who want to go away from mass incarceration and go towards diversion. Diversion is when a youth is arrested, instead of going to being locked up, they meet with a guardian and a community leader and someone from the county and say, hey, instead of being incarcerated, you're going to go take this FY film class, or you're going to take this Shakespearean class, or you're going to take a writing class. But then there's another part of LA County that totally wants mass incarceration because they want to keep their jobs. So we just happen to be caught up in the middle of this incredible storm. There's a lot of changes going on. But I've never had a film screening canceled. I've never had the plug pulled. I received a call from LA County Probation saying, we'd like to see this film that you're going to screen at Aflo on Saturday. And I said, why? I said, I've never had someone from upper management request to see a film. They said, oh, we just need to see it. So I sent it to them, and 4 hours later they said, you're not screening this film. I couldn't even go to the camp and show the film to the youth. There was some confusion about the legal parameters of can we screen this film. But what was beautiful about it is the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund came forward, NAACP, Urban League of America, the Jewish Defense League, Amnesty International, ACLU, they all came forward and said, we support you in screening the film made by your students who were incarcerated at Camp Aflo. And they want to do this big press conference to protest. I'm like, no, let's let this unfold and we will find a resolution. And the film will be screened. It's going to be screened a lot later than we wanted, but currently working to get the film cleared so that it does screen, but on the outside of the corrections. They also were concerned about, we had Maxine Waters and possibly Ridley Thomas potentially giving introductory remarks in LA Times, and some people at upper management were not very comfortable with that. So I understand it just was not the right time to screen this film. And now if they decided at the last minute to not allow us to screen the film on the outs, it's a violation of my students' First Amendment rights. Because even when one is incarcerated, one still has freedom of speech. I don't think it's going to go there. I really believe, I'm confident and hopeful that we will be able to screen this film in August. But something really beautiful happened. On the last day of filming, there was some fighting amongst the youth. About 8 or 9 youth were hurt. 4 or 5 youth were hospitalized. But the 16 students in the film class did not get involved. They became impervious to the violence around them because they understood, they were very clear that if they did not finish their film today, there would be no film to screen. Wow. So it just shows the power of the arts. And like when you give youth goals, something to focus on, they don't get caught up in all that violence. So the next day at the graduation, I told them, I said, hey guys, I just wanted to commend you. We had a graduation. I want to commend you for staying focused. You didn't get caught up in all the violence. And I talked about how does violence affect the individual? How does it affect your family? How does it affect your community? And then I brought up the horrible shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. I said, I want to explain something to you. There was a shooting in a synagogue of innocent people. And I want to bring this up because it happened yesterday on the day we had this outbreak of violence. So we talked about hate crimes and genocide. And I've never seen anything like this happen. I think what I'm about to tell you is probably the most beautiful moment I've ever experienced in working with this population. The youth asked for some butcher paper and felt tip pens, and we got it for them. And they got on the floor in the gymnasium and drew a sympathy card for the victims of the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. And they made it, and it just shows you that when you engage these youth and give them a chance to express themselves and give them a sense of belonging and acceptance and empowerment, they're able to connect with their own capacity for compassion. So these are 16 youth, right? Serving time for crimes. They're juvenile offenders, yet they are choosing to write a beautiful sympathy card to victims of a hate crime in Pittsburgh. So we did a doc about this film. It's called From Aflo to Pittsburgh. And the youth said, hey, Munoz, can you send this sympathy card to the priest at the synagogue? What is it called? I said, well, they don't have priests in synagogues. Well, the minister said, well, it's not a minister, it's a rabbi. I had to explain to them what a rabbi was. And they said, well, send it to the rabbi. So I sent it to the rabbi. And he appreciated the gesture. Wow. And it was a beautiful moment, but if that doesn't show you that the arts can help transform lives and can help young people find their sense of love and compassion and empathy for others, I don't know what is. But that was a very profound and meaningful moment, and I will never, ever forget it. I'm gonna email you both the card they made.
You have it on your Facebook too, right? I think I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 5 by 4 feet, and
right.
There's a lot of hearts, and it says, we love you, we're thinking of you. It's so beautiful in its sincerity and very genuine, and really having a concern. And they said, well, how many, did people die? Yes, people died. Well, are the families okay? I don't know, I'm not a member of that community, but they told me and my instructors that it was very important for them to make this card to send to the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh.
So the screening may happen in August?
Yes, I'm waiting for one more clearance, and hopefully we'll do it. I'll make sure to invite you all. Love for you to meet my students who came up with this idea of vanishing. And I think what was really hurtful for me was, it was our first film at a LA County probation camp in about a year and 8 months. And the youth decided to lash around this concept of vanishing and disappearing. And they came up with this idea before they heard about the 3 youth we lost.
Oh, wow.
So that was profound to me. And I said, I just want to let you guys know, you don't know this, but we lost 3 alumni. 2 transitioned, another one was deported. And for you guys to pick up on that is your gift. So they dedicated the film to the 3 young men. And I was upset at probation because I said, do you understand that this is a film about people vanishing? And we've had 3 alumni vanish. And the youth dedicated this film to those 3 youth. But that is a whole different thing. They're thinking about the stability of their department. And I had to step back and realize that I have to be dogged and disciplined and get this thing cleared and screen this, and it's just not going to happen right now. I had to accept that. It was hard for me to accept. I was stressed out. I was calling all my funders, calling all the political leaders saying, I'm really sorry this happened. And I didn't even understand what was going on, but it was a very stressful week. I imagine how heartbreaking that is. Like, you have 16 youth work on this amazing, artistic, profound film. It was tough. That was a tough week for me because I was so proud of my students for really addressing why are Black people disappearing from Starbucks and parks? Why are Latino families being torn apart? Why are Latinos being abducted and deported? This is causing a stress, Munoz. Can we make a film about it? Yes, we can. We did this film. We also dedicated to the 3 alumni who are no longer with us, and yet they pulled the plug. So it was really tough, but it's looking better now, and I'm very confident we will screen the film. And now the good news is that all these venues have offered their space.
Oh, wow.
And now the screening is going to be even more jam-packed because they heard that the first screening was canceled.
But for the youth to see it, that were the 16 filmmakers that made it, they wouldn't be able to go to these venues, right?
Oh, they'll go because they're all out now.
Oh, they're all out
See,
now.
that's the other good thing, because
okay.
now we'll go around and we'll pick them up and we'll bring them all to the screening. And we won't have to deal with the restrictive guidelines of probation. And I think probation is kind of back down. It's a very sensitive time for them right now. There's a lot of some violence, and there's some conflict between the youth and the staff, and whether they should use mace or whether they shouldn't use mace, and when is diversion going to happen? How are people going to make money if diversion comes in? There's a lot of confusion and chaos right now, and we happen to be smack in the middle of the storm.
How did you let the students know that the screening was canceled?
I called them, and they gathered in a small room, and I had to tell them over the phone.
What was their reaction?
They were very upset. And then I went again the following week, and I was able to screen part of the film for 2 of the students, and they were very, very excited about the film. So I did get to screen some select takes to 2 of the students. But the other ones, I just said, hey, we're going to screen the film. You will get to see it. Trust me, I'm working on it. So this screening that happens, hopefully early August, will be a beautiful moment of solidarity and unity and triumph, because, wow, we finally got this film out, you know?
And how many screenings have you done total since, what, 2001?
Oh, it's really difficult to get the films cleared because you have to get the courts to sign off and the head judge and probation. But we've done about 15 screenings, yeah. Usually they're small. I prefer to screen the films. There's 2 venues that offered us their theaters, but they have like 300 to 350 seats. And when you get an audience that big, it's really hard to have an intimate, meaningful conversation. So I prefer venues that are like maybe under 100. I find that 60 to 70 is usually a good number, because then there could be real engagement. And the power of these screenings is, yes, the films are great. Yes, it's amazing that the youth write, direct, and perform in these films. But the most powerful thing is when they get up and talk about the process of making the film, how they learn things like discipline, focus, meeting deadlines, working with people who are different from them. A lot of my students, they come from rival gangs. And I have to, it's my job to make sure that, hey, we're on the same team right now. So during the Pro Bowl, does someone from the Oakland Raiders hate on someone on the Broncos because they're in different conferences? No, they're in Hawaii to win the Pro Bowl. They're gonna let go of those differences. So I call it the all-star factor. When I break it down that way, they go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And they just let it all go.